Hello, everybody, and welcome to the first episode of 2026. We made it through 2025, and now it's time for the first and currently only core constructed DLC of the year. So yeah,
it's still 2025.
Cody, this is coming out in 2026.
Okay, well.
Oh my God, like behind the scenes, folks, behind the scenes. We don't record this live, so
guys, he didn't put that in the script.
I mean, I just thought that, we're already off the rails. We're 4
Hayden,
seconds
you're
in
muted.
You're ruining my immersion, Cody.
I don't think he was trying to say anything.
He was talking.
Oh, okay. Well, I wasn't paying attention then. I was too busy.
For a guy with a camera, you ain't really looking at him.
I'm too busy like doing behind the scenes stuff over here, like trying to make sure everything works. Okay, now you see. Now, if you're here and you're listening, you get this is the perfect team behind the scenes dynamic interaction. So you guys are getting all of the fun stuff. But anyways,
yeah, it's Cody against the world.
That is true. Cody no longer has a camera because he's playing League of Legends in the background and doesn't want us to know.
That's not true.
But anyways, so I'm getting us back on track here. This is DLC week. Set champs are starting as well, and so, or I guess technically have already started once this comes out, but have started. And so we were going to revisit our fancy tier list from the beginning of the set and redo it now, based on all the info we have from all the testing and from all the set tournaments and everything else that's gone on, and talk about why we think there are certain good picks and certain not good picks to consider for your set champs, and for Richmond if you still haven't made your decision for that either. So with that said, I imagine there will be a lot of arguing on this one, and so let's just go ahead and jump into this bad boy because there's a lot to go through. So we've got some fun tier names for everybody as well. If you're just listening, we have Bucky, which has been decided as S tier because he's the only one to receive a full ban and then decide to like come back somehow but still be dead.
It's not true.
What? I said full ban and then come back.
Hiram and Portersphere were banned.
Full ban and then get reprinted. Come back.
That's such a crazy criteria to give to Bucky. He got nerfed. Let's just say that.
Okay.
I'll give you a good one. He got nerfed to oblivion.
Whatever. Same deal. He got banned and then he was brought back to life, but it was a different banned. But he was a different squirrel. So he basically got banned. Whatever. And then Hiram, he got banned as well. There you go. Sad Beast, you've been in and out of the meta at B tier. Scuttle, just a fun one for C tier. And then Crab, aka Cody, for D tier.
It doesn't say Cody, but whatever.
It says Crab. I said aka. It just says Crab, so making sure everybody knows where we're going with that. So yeah, you can, as Cody said, everybody gangs up on him, and he wasn't lying.
I wanted to point out that it was like, oh, that doesn't have to be about me, and then you went, no, it's 100% about you.
Yeah.
I was giving you an out there.
I was making sure that we did it for that reason on purpose. So okay, we had to make sure that
my lawyers will be in touch.
Okay. All right. I look forward to that. Okay, I didn't put these in any particular order on the screen. Blue Steel is the first one that it like sorted itself to. So where do we feel like Blue Steel is? It definitely has come down from the beginning of our testing. So it's no longer cream of the crop, best of the best.
I'm going to say either Sad Beast or bottom of Hiram.
Sad Beast. This is my vote.
If you're playing Blue Steel, like what are you saying is your best matchup that you can just like win?
Nothing. It's all like 50.
If you ask a Blue Steel player, every one of them.
If you ask certain Blue Steel players, every one of them. Yeah, because I think Sad Beast is probably good, but I think like any meta relevant deck, I don't think there's like any one matchup that you're going into and you're being like, yeah, this is the one that I'm just going to win all the time so that I feel really good about it. And I might have a losing matchup, but I think to their point, it's 50-50 / just not anything super positive for it. So it's fine. Cindy's still good. It's got a lot of cool top end tools, but there's so much going on in the early game now with a lot of these matchups that if you just take 2 or 3 turns off to ramp to get to those big bodies, that might be all she wrote. So
yeah, and there's been a few different versions of this floating around. Like there's the ally version and like a more detective version, and they're all pretty middle of the road in my head.
Yeah, I think the allies is probably the most consistent these days. I think the challenge it has is it, depending on the matchup, like it really wants to see Shift Jasmine on 2. And if it doesn't, then you're just like not doing a whole lot and you're still giving up those early game turns like you would be if you're playing just the full on ramp version. And so that inconsistency makes it a little worrisome for me. But I would say that is probably the most optimal option if that's the route you're going. Okay. I don't know. I feel like green blue is next. I feel like that probably deserves its own tier just called high roll, because if you're playing green blue, I feel like that's just what you're hoping on, is to just high roll your matchups and high roll your draws, because when it is well oiled, nothing can beat it. And if it doesn't hit its curve and it's, optimal lines, I feel like it just folds instantly. And so
Are you implying that green blue has no skill?
No, there's definitely skill in piloting it, but when you hit the lines that like if you go Clarabelle ramp, either Cinderella or whatever, Donald into shift Clarabelle, sing your welcome. Like if you have the optimal line, like it's just very, very tough for most decks to come back from that. And so it's not about it not having skill. It's more just about the tip top potential of this deck, like just can't be beat, I think is mainly what I'm getting at.
Yeah, I think it's the most powerful deck of the format, but it just has the consistency issues. You have to see certain cards for the deck to do anything. Like you need 7-drop Clarabelle, or the game's really hard to win. You need Prince Philip combo, or the game's really hard to win.
Yep.
And then and also this is like drawing weird people. I don't know. I would probably say it's Bucky.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on like your. I don't have a problem with putting it Bucky. I think the problem is more of like a philosophy question than like a deck power question. It's like if you're okay with the philosophy of going in and saying, okay, I just want to try to high roll, and I'm okay with the fact that I might just not draw the cards I need.
That's implying that you're only there to high roll. Do you think this deck is the most broken deck in the format?
I think it potentially has the most broken things that you can do, but it also has the highest potential to brick to itself.
I don't know. There's probably some blue-yellow decks that brick pretty well.
Okay, any viable deck that people are actually
Look, all I'm
going to
just
play.
saying, if you think it does the most broken things, then you need to put it in the top tier.
And we did. I'm just saying that I think that if you're considering this for your set champs or you're considering this for Richmond, you have to be okay with the deck folding to itself and understand that there are going to be games that you lose just because you don't have the cards that you need, because it has such a powerful top end line, but the rest of those cards are filler to get you to the cards that you want to be playing.
I would put it a tier below, personally.
I have really no say on this one, because again, this one's just such a philosophical question to me on like, how do you want to approach a tournament? And if you're fine high rolling, then yeah, it's definitely, the best deck to take. And if you're not fine high rolling and you just want to take something, that has good matchup spread and has a lot of power, then this is definitely not the deck, because it just won't have the consistency that you're looking for.
I guess
that's the case, like not S tier.
Yeah, no, I guess I agree with you in that sense. I do think if you're talking about what is the best deck for most people to play, that's probably the best deck for your set championships to play, because you can just high roll a bunch of times and do your really good combos and win. But I think overall the Amethyst core is more consistent and has a better backbone and is overall better than the blue-green deck.
And again, I can't argue with that. I think that you are going to get a lot more consistency and a lot more draw power and a lot more options when you play that Amethyst core versus green blue, but it just doesn't have a board wipe. And so, you have to be okay with getting ramped into a board wipe and then having to figure out how to fight back from that.
Yeah.
So.
It's definitely harder to do, I think, than just board wiping people.
Yep. Okay. Well, we'll leave it here and we can readjust if we need to, but I definitely agree that, again, this one very much has an asterisk on like my notes of, if you're okay high rolling, then this is a very strong deck. If you want something that's more consistent, then avoid this one at all costs. Okay. Moving on to green purple / Mo / this one's very tough because there are so many archetypes within green purple, I think.
I know. I feel like we need to make duplicates. This is
I know.
definitely one that branches out.
There's 3 decks I can think of that you can
Yeah,
play.
there's Brainiac, which is probably the lowest of the bunch right now. I don't know how much that one's being played after set 9. I think there are definitely people still playing it, and you could consider it if you wanted to. But I would probably say that one doesn't need like its own spot on the tier list, probably. And then you have, what we haven't dubbed it this, just so there's no bias here, but everybody online definitely calls green purple mid range the Mo list.
Well, they call it green purple control, the Mo list.
Sure. I mean, I think it's still a little more. I mean, it's definitely more control because he's played with the Philip combo, and I think I'm pretty sure that initial list that he played week 1 had Philip combo and it did not. I might be wrong. I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure it did.
Yeah.
Did Mo play a green purple card and a green purple deck? Yes.
Yes. And so green purple control then, and then you have the items build. That the Speci $12 hyper aggro version where you just spam a bunch of cards and items and get lore from the Inkcaster, and playing cards just gives you lore too, which is very annoying in my book and is not fun to play against, but it is what it is. So I mean, let's just go with Mo's version because that's who we are most close to, and we can just talk about the items version. I would say probably Sad Beast, maybe bottom of Hiram. I mean, is it? I don't know why it would be that bad. I think you're pulling our chain, but
you have chains.
Yeah,
I think the mid-range deck that plays like the normal Amethyst core, I would put that deck in like Hiram, bottom of Hiram, but
yeah, I mean, I think it's probably bottom of Hiram, top of Sad Beast. I think the challenge with this one is there's some very intricate lines that you have to like very much know like when to force the issue with your opponent and like when to take back control, because its bodies early in the game aren't necessarily the most disruptive. They don't trade always the best with your curve decks like your purple steel or your red purple. So you have to like make some wacky play, what I would consider unconventional plays to make everything work out well. And so I think that the capability of the deck is like very, very high if you're really skilled, but I think for the average person that hasn't put in a bunch of reps, it can be a lot harder. And so I don't know like how you would weight that in the overall capability of the deck, but yeah, I mean, I think, probably bottom of Hiram.
I think there's a good way to say it. This deck doesn't have a typical always do turns 1 through 4 at the same time every matchup. It's a very fluid deck.
Yeah, I mean that's a much more eloquent way to put it though of what I was trying to say for sure. So, any other comments on that one?
I would agree, probably bottom of Hiram. I think the deck is a little difficult. It's like kind of build your own adventure deck. Yeah, it just doesn't really have a powerful early game, but the mid to late game is when it shines.
Yeah, I think that's another really good way to talk about it. It just doesn't have the bodies to fight early, but obviously once you get to the top end with your Philip combo, just like anything, it can close out the game quick. But okay, quick, just I guess little sub thought on the items version. I would say probably Sad Beast for the items version. Or the aggro items version. It'll get eaten up by purple steel a lot if they have a good amount of just good bodies on board, especially if they hit a Calhoun. I think you're in a lot of trouble going into a couple of Calhouns. I think it's trouble for any under the sea deck like dogs. I think it's just not faster than dogs, and so just in general they probably don't even have to sing under the sea against you. They just throw out a bunch of lore and just quest because they're not worried about you challenging and clearing their board for Tramp to come down. So I would say it's, definitely a step below like the top 2 or 2 of the top decks of the format. And so I don't think that you can consider the item version quite as good and quite as consistent. And so I would say probably low Sad Beast, maybe Scuttle, even though it definitely has seen some play and seen some success.
It does love to eat purple decks.
It does do that. But yeah, I would say it's a pretty bad deck. I think if you want to play aggro deck, you should play dogs.
Yep. That's, I mean, again, a very straightforward way of saying kind of what I was rambling on about. So, side note, if that's what you want to play, I think it can be good, especially if you know your local meta and there is a lot of Blurple and a lot of green blue. It could be a good option. But if you know that there's a lot of purple steel, a lot of red purple, a lot of dogs, I would not consider the Adams version. Okay. Green steel. We've tested it. We've played it. I don't think it's quite as strong as you would want it to be. I mean, this one's definitely a Scuttle or worse option, I would say. Probably Scuttle, just because there's definitely there's definitely some viability and it can definitely win games, but it's just not going to be super consistent by any means. So,
yeah, I feel like it has like all good tools, but it doesn't have the draw that Amethyst offers. So just for that fact, it has to be pretty low, like Scuttle or lower.
I'm in agreement.
I literally have no idea what green still does these days.
No, I don't either.
Yeah, it's very interesting because like on paper, like all the cards are really strong, right? Like you have Webby Shift to play against blue decks to help you, insulate against the ramp and get to a Prince Philip combo if you're trying to do that. You have all the steel removal. You have like lots of cool things you can do, but it feels like it's a step behind purple steel on the curve decks. It feels like it's a step behind the blue decks if you miss the Webby. And so yeah, it's very strange because on paper it does seem like there's enough quality cards to make it good, but when you actually like build a deck and play it, it's always just not quite where you want it to be. Okay, well that was a fast one. Moving on to Amber Emerald, aka Dogs. Again, best aggro deck in the format for sure. I've heard a lot of people say Tramp is the best card in the game currently. I think there's a lot of strong arguments for that. It's very, very strong. I think there's definitely a good skill gap to this one too, because playing really, really well with such low resources like 2 or 3 ink can be very difficult. But when you understand the ins and outs of the deck and how to play it, it's very strong for sure. So towards the top of the list, I don't necessarily have a strong grasp on where I would put it that high, but if anybody else has a strong suggestion at where to throw in Dogs, we can start from there.
I have a question. Did we, for the audio listeners out there, did you explain the tiers names?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's when we got. I mean, I'll go back over it too when we get to the very end of it. But that's why I remember Cody was yelling at me about Bucky not being banned, but just being eroded.
I don't think I was yelling.
Yeah, you just love to just like go hard at me and give me a hard time about everything.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there's more evidence in this video of you going hard at me than anything. So you better watch yourself.
Okay,
I think
my lawyers are watching.
I think this deck is in a very similar spot as blue green, where it has some of the most powerful plays in the format, but it also has some consistency issues and it can be blown out and it has some bad matchups. So I would put it in Hiram, but we put blue green and Bucky, and I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's definitely Hiram too. It not having the best purple steel matchup is always going to be the hardest thing for it to overcome. As long as purple steel is as consistent and strong as it is, it will never be like the most S tier high meta share deck, because it just has a very rough time into that. It also has a rough time into Ruby Amethyst with a lot of the tools that it has, and it's a pretty quick deck. So yeah, I think it's good, but it definitely has some matchups that it can struggle against if you're not well versed into the deck and the dynamics of the matchup.
I mean, I almost would disagree. I feel like it has too bad matchup, but everything else is favored. Like it has no other than like Ruby Steel, surprisingly. There's not like really a bad matchup for the deck other than Purple Steel and Ruby Amethyst.
And I would agree. But the problem with those two decks are what do we expect the meta share of those two to be at? I mean, we'll just say Richmond because everybody said champs is different. But yeah, I mean, if we're saying those two decks.
33%.
I would say 42%. I would say 30% for 30% for purple steel and 12% for ruby amethyst.
30% purple steel.
Yeah, I mean that's I think where it's been trending. I mean, if you think, I mean, it might be a little bit lower, but I think
maybe like a 6 or 7% difference.
Yeah, I mean, it could be plus or I wouldn't say maybe that high. No, I see what you did. I'm not even. I would say, I mean, you could definitely go up or down a couple percent, but I mean, if you think about your, I don't want to say average because that makes it sound like a mediocre player, but somebody who doesn't just grind the game like we do, they go to the DLCs to have fun. They want to just take a good deck to, to try to win some games, to get the Mulan promo or whatever. I mean, all of their friends are going to tell them take purple steel. I just think it's, time after time, there's always a deck that's, high 20s, low 30s%. And I think purple steel is going to continue to be that deck.
Yeah, no, I agree. So, it's definitely the most played deck for sure.
Okay. So we'll say 38%. So a third of your matchups, you're unfavored in dogs, I guess, is ultimately like where I'm trying to get at. At minimum, a third of your matchups, and probably a little bit more than that, are not favored. And so, that's just not a winning combination for a tournament where you have to go 10-2 and you can't lose a third of your games.
I mean, I feel like I think dogs is still going to be like 6% in the field, but I think it's still going to convert really like over 6%. I think it's going to do surprisingly well because it always has. I mean, I think it's always a deck that does convert really well.
It definitely does. I think it's a very loyal player base, kind of like your Ruby Amethyst back in the day. Obviously, that was a much higher meta share, but the people that have been playing this for the last 3 sets, I guess now, they've definitely learned the ins and outs. They're definitely on their game when it comes to playing the deck and knowing the matchups. And so again, I think when you have a lot of high caliber players playing it, it's going to overperform. And so I agree. I think it will overconvert, and it continues to do so. Okay. Any final thoughts on dogs? Moving on to 2 other heavy hitters here. We have Blurple. It's been as consistent as ever. I think we wrote it off a little bit at the beginning of the set, just like everybody else, and it's continued to be extremely consistent and strong throughout this format as well. So it's definitely got to be towards the top. How far towards the top, I don't know. But it's definitely Hiram, I would say, at a minimum. Has a bad dogs matchup. Speaking of dogs, can be tough to beat blue-green if they, if blue-green does their thing with the combo and the board wipe. But it just has a very strong amethyst package with a lot of good the sapphire removal tools and ramp tools. So yeah, what do we think about where Blurple should be?
I kind of think it's the top of Huron because I feel like it's pretty 50-50 across the board. It's not like necessarily like favored into anything, but it's not favored into anything other than like dogs.
Isn't that what we said about blue steel? It's just a really grindy one against all of them. Is that
so? I feel like it's a little bit higher. I feel like you have better tools, better draw, better removal.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I was going to say. I wanted to clarify that one because I think it is better. Maybe, your blue steel is, 49, 48% across the board, and Blurple's 50, 51% across the board, except for dogs, which definitely give it a lot of fits for sure. Yeah, purple core, though, is very hard to beat. And so when you have all of those with the ramp options, it's very, very strong for sure. Okay, I guess that's an easy one. Everybody agrees.
I mean, I think it could be there's a world where it's above that Hiram tier. It's in the next tier. It's at the bottom of the Bucky tier, I will say.
Is it on par with green, blue, purple, steel? I mean, not to foreshadow anything, but I think you've got to put purple steel's next, and I think purple steel has to go up here too, right?
I mean, yeah, we can go ahead and move on, I guess. I'm
like, let's just, again, we can kind of adjust here. So like, we can talk about both of them.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I do think purple steel is for sure in Bucky tier. It's the most obvious deck to go there, and it's the most consistent deck, and it should definitely be there. I just personally wouldn't have put the blue green deck there either, but I think since the blue green deck's there, I think it's like in my head, it's almost the exact same spot as Blurple, and I'd probably just put those two together. But
I'm probably I don't have an issue doing that at all. I think they're both really, really strong, and Blurple is a little bit more consistent. And so again, like my personal preference would be to take a deck that's a little bit more consistent versus one that has more high roll potential. So I agree, but I think the overall power level of blue green is a little higher. So yeah, maybe they're both up there, and they both just have their different reasons for being up there.
yeah, I kind of think so. I think they both have their. I don't know. I think Blurple's a little bit more consistent at what it does, but it doesn't have as powerful plays as the blue green deck, like we said. But it still has the broken Amethyst package, and it gets to do a lot of it before the other decks do. So like when it goes first, it's just like really tough to deal with.
Sure.
I will say it does have another bad matchup in like purple green. So I mean, it does have two bad matchups that are probably going to be pretty wide play. I mean, it's going to be like 15% of the field probably.
But which purple green deck are you talking about?
Most the control list.
Is it a bad matchup?
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it's not great. I think, I mean, that was one of my 3 losses at CCS was to Mo's list.
It's unfavored. It's not like completely one-sided. It's like 55-45 or something around there.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think that's a bad matchup necessarily. I think they open Webby sometimes, and it's really hard to win those games. But if they don't, it's really hard for them to beat you. But I also haven't played it as much. That's just what I would have.
Not necessarily, because like you are pretty slow at luring, so you just give them enough time to gather the 2 pieces of Prince Philip plus Mean, Malicious, and Scary. So you're inevitably going to get board wiped, and usually they hold a Hades for it. But I don't know. Ultimately, I think the deck has a hard time into a couple matchups, which I don't think green-blue does not have nearly as hard of a time. Green-blue has only like a hard time into like aggro, and then this deck has aggro and another matchup.
I think I mean, I can't disagree with you. I think the difference between this though and like the dogs argument that we were making is, the dogs like rough matchups was like I'll bring it down a little bit. I said 42. We'll say like 38% of the field. Green, blue, and green, purple are going to be 20% max. And so I think if you just, again, are looking at the overall like meta share spread of what to expect at a big tournament, I think it just is much more favored. And again, the consistency that you get with the Amethyst package is very hard to beat in today's, current game.
I mean, I do agree with that. I mean, it is a very powerful deck, and it is. You probably will have some convert to top 32. I just, I don't think I would feel that comfortable taking Blurple to Richmond.
Yeah, I wouldn't. Like personally, I would put it in Hero.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would have.
It'd be hard to
both
put that
Hero,
in the
though.
Bucky tier if you wouldn't take it to Richmond ever.
Yeah, we got to move it down then. Got to move it down.
Well, I think Matthew's right. I think there's like that green purple like item aggro deck, the Specky deck. That one, I would not want to be the Blurple player.
That one's just gonna. I mean, I've definitely I've tested that matchup, and I've definitely wanted it on the Blurple side. But it's not a given by any means.
Yeah.
It's probably a 43-57 split if I had to guess.
I just would not want to take that, knowing that there's a good chance I play that at least once.
Yeah, I mean that's fair.
I still might take Blurple, I guess. I still am undecided, but I doubt it.
Hey, if it's an option though, it's on the table still. So okay. Any final thoughts on there? I think those are the 2 heavy hitters. I mean, we kind of, like I said, I kind of looped Purple Steel into that, and we didn't talk about it too much. So we'll talk about Purple Steel really quickly. But I don't think there's a ton that needs to be said. It's just the most consistent deck. You have steel removal. You have the Amethyst draw. So you have, the best sides of everything that you would hope for from a resources and a removal perspective. You have some burn lore with your Cobras. So So you really have, kind of a whole package. It can be a little hit or miss if you don't, hit your docks in a timely manner, or, you don't find your early genie or your early curve. It can be a little dicey because you just got to sit there and be patient. But in general, it's either, I would say, 50-50 or favored into every matchup you're going to have. And so that's just going to be the best deck and most consistent that you could, possibly want to take. Touche. Okay, moving on to red blue then. I know we've had some testing sessions with this in the past. I know Hayden, you personally have been, I would say, optimistic about some of this, but it's still just never had quite enough to like break through, I would say. So is this probably Scuttle too, right?
No, just throw in crab. No one plays it.
Okay.
I mean,
Yes.
I think it.
Yeah, who's playing blue-red in this economy?
Yeah, like I think it has potential, but there's just.
We'll go ahead and throw Christmas into the crab bottom tier as well then.
Also interesting, but I just feel like it would take so long. Like it's whatever these two decks are, it's gonna be like a whole new deck, and it just takes so much work to like make them good that like no one probably will. No one will probably even try. So
yeah, I mean,
but I do think if you want to go to your set champs and take either of these color combinations, there is a good 60 cards that you can win with. I 100% believe that. Every bone in my body believes that you could take any of these colors and win a set champs with them.
I agree with that 100%. Yeah.
Okay, so really quickly.
Yes. Okay.
All right, we're talking about League of Legends. I like to play.
Cody stole my Ash earlier.
No, I didn't steal it.
So we're
I started
enemies
with
now.
the Ash, and he tried to take it from me, and I went no.
I don't know. I never have internet problems, but I swear every time we record, it bleeps out for a second. Okay, if you what I said, which nobody probably heard, is if you were, what would you want your meta to be if you do want to take Ruby Sapphire to a set champs?
Blurple and green blue, probably. You want everyone to play Blurple and green blue.
I don't think that's what I would have guessed. I don't think that's what I would have guessed you would say. But
really,
I think this has to be your day with that deck. Like you might be better than your opponent, but your card quality is lower than every other deck. Probably you don't have the draw.
Yeah, and you just don't want to play against decks that are like aggro. Like if you can get into the mid to late game and not be pressured, and you get to like set up your draw and set up this big spot removal cards, like you will win those games a lot of the time. But it's just as soon as you have to play that green purple items deck or purple steel, even that's fast and low to the ground, you're just gonna like get ran over probably.
Yep, that's fair. Okay, moving on to Ruby Amethyst. This one definitely deserves a very high consideration as well. And you have your Amethyst core, which is the strongest thing in the game currently. All the evasives, all the draw. Is this just easy slot into Hiram? How high up here are we putting it? Are we putting it above Blurple, below Blurple?
I mean,
I'd put it in Bucky.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe Bucky, because like, what really is a bad matchup?
There isn't one.
There is.
Blue green.
I was gonna say Blurple and blue green aren't great. Well, I don't know. Blue green is probably decent.
I mean, it's pretty 50-50. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I think if you go first, you get to like curve in a 1 to a Diablo into a Sisu, and you just have so much pressure so early into a Genie, into a Horseman.
Yeah, you force them into having to do the combo a lot of the times, but the problem is like sometimes they do have it, and when they do have it, you don't have great ways to get rid of the Phillip always. Sometimes you do, and then they just lose.
Sure.
And sometimes you just like play a Demona afterwards and draw a bunch of cards, and you just race them, and they just lose.
Okay, I've seen a lot of back and forth on purple steel versus red purple, which is which is favored in that matchup, and I think that probably is the kicker for me on where it needs to go. Who's favored in the red purple steel matchup?
Who's playing both deck? Who's playing the deck? Because I think
I'm playing the deck, it's probably terrible.
I think that matters.
I think it might be a dice roll, really. I think whoever wins the dice roll is probably favored because they're pretty like Steel has like strength and hurl, but like you have Horseman and like bigger bodies.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the last like 6 to 10 cards that you put in your deck too. Like, do you have Iago killers, or my Iago's surviving after you strength my card? Like, am I just gonna get a sit on Iago on the board?
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good point too. I think it. Oh, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't have the. I guess the difference to me is it doesn't have the burn. Yeah, it's faster because it does have more 2-lore questers earlier, but it can stall out against the blue decks because you don't have the cobras to to get you to across the finish line. Or I know there's a few white roses. You don't have that just final push to get across. So I don't know. I mean, I'm fine with either. So somebody give me a final thought here on Hiram or Bucky.
I think it's definitely better than blue green. I think it's crazy to put this deck below that deck.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. I would probably put it at the bottom of Hiram.
The bottom of Hiram?
Maybe the
below those
bottom?
3 decks.
Oh no, the top.
Okay.
The top. Okay. Yeah, I think it's like the. I mean, I think it's just like a solid deck. I think it's like purple steel, but slightly worse.
Okay.
I don't know. It has really good tools.
If you're saying it's purple steel but slightly worse, then that to me says it does deserve to be in our top tier, Bucky.
Because I played a lot of games against that purple steel deck today, and I just felt like I would just eat strengths and like not even care, because I would just like my 3, 4, 5 is just so strong in red purple. Like 2, 3, 4, like the first 5 turns, like every character you play is better than every character like the other decks play most of the time, because you play like Palace Guard or Tinkerbell on 1, which is like better than like Captain Hook or the other. I mean, Palace Guard isn't necessarily just straight up better than the other 1 cost, but it gets to quest immediately and live.
Sure.
And you have Lumiere to like boost it and make it better.
Sure.
And then your 2 cost, you have Lumiere, which is whatever, but the Diablo is usually better than what everything else plays on 2. And then on 3, you play Cheshire Cat or Sisu. That's usually better than what everyone else is playing on 3, because they're playing like Lexington, which is kind of good. But then like your 4 is Iago Genies.
Yeah,
and
then you get into the
Horsemen.
Into the normal purple, then Hades stuff too. So okay, I
have a halftime question. Which
Go.
deck player do you think needs therapy the most? Not as like a bad thing, but if like this player, which one do you think needs therapy the most?
I mean, green blue.
Which player archetype do you think needs therapy the most?
Oh, player archetype?
Sure.
Probably blue red right now.
Oof.
I mean, you can say for like the copers that are taking their pet deck still, but I would say green blue people. I think you just have to really be like wacky to just
you think it's wacky to get therapy? It's really anti-therapy, Zach. You really walked into that one.
Oh my god.
There's a clear answer you missed.
There goes our audience.
It's
Brainiac.
Brainiac.
I mean, that's a fun. Yeah.
I was hoping you were just gonna say green purple just because we know Mo.
He did say green purple. He just said the non-version of that Mo's.
I'll say green purple is definitely like, if you think of like the mad scientist deck, it's definitely green purple. There's no correct way to build that deck.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's too many good cards.
Okay, Hayden. Moving on to Ruby Steel, our resident Bucky, our resident Ruby Steel tester.
No, I mean, I think like it just goes to Scuttle.
Yeah, I think I've seen enough to put it in Scuttle. Honestly,
well, no. Now that don't say it like that for one, because I'm just being conservative. I think the deck has like been fine. Like it feels like most of the other decks that I've played for the most part, like just slightly underpowered compared to the Amethyst stuff. Sure. So that's why I just put it there. But I don't think it's like I still don't think it's impossible to see one top this DLC.
Oh, I think that means you're playing it then. Yeah, when I said honestly, like I could see a world where it gets moved up is what I was going to say. I mean, crazy enough, I think that the problem that this deck has is that there's not like a correct way to build it. And so there's a lot of, just it takes time, as we've talked about in the past, to like get to a place where it can be really consistent and really strong into a very high level field. And yeah, just nobody's, as a collective, like put that time in to help refine it. And so,
And it is very matchup dependent, I think. Like if you go and you play against dogs and green purple aggro and purple steel and red purple, those are your only matchups, I think you'll win. But if you have to play against blue green or blurple or blue steel, that's when the matchups are really hard.
Sure.
Any of the blue decks. So
Sure.
I think if you know your local meta, like Zach said earlier, and it could be a really strong and fun, really fun set championship deck to take.
I've seen some very, very crazy plays with Hayden and Mushu. I'll just say that. I mean, it definitely is very unforgiving if you misplay into it. I mean, you could even be on the most meta deck, and if you misplay into a 10 lore, Mushu turn, like you can lose on the spot. So it's very very interesting for sure. It just doesn't have the consistency of the Amethyst stuff.
Here, how about that? We'll slide it ahead of green steel, and then that'll be good enough.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
I will also say the problem with the deck is one is no draw outside of like challenging, and then two is like all the plays are kind of telegraphed.
Yeah, I guess that is. You have to like. There's nothing that you can do to like catch people off guard. I mean, aside for I guess from dropping a Mushu and challenging, but yeah, I mean, there's definitely stuff you have to set up.
Well, it also destroys all aggro decks. It is the eater of aggro.
It is. Yeah, it eats the aggro decks.
Yep, for sure. Okay. Ruby, Amber, Racers, Princesses, Big Songs, Power Line, whatever you want to call it. This one's just pretty much in a crab tier as well, right?
Yeah, I've also one of the color combinations I've probably played against the least, and like I don't know, an 800, 700 and some games, 800 and something games. I think I've played it like less than 10 times, 5 times.
I can think of one that I've played against. So that's it. Just
I will say I've played it a few times and been kind of scared of some of the stuff it does, but
Amber is just really missing Rapunzel. I'll just say that. Like Amber is really missing Rapunzel.
Yeah.
I think having Rapunzel in this would open up a ton of stuff with some of the big Ruby bodies we saw, but without Rapunzel, I just don't think you're going to get a lot out of it. Speaking of, we'll go ahead and throw Amber Sapphire probably in crab tier as well, right? Like I don't feel like
I don't think so. I would put it at the bottom of Scuttle, below those two.
Yeah, I mean, I think it actually has done.
It has a meta share.
Yeah, it does decently in some tournaments. I think I saw a detective list that did well not too long ago.
I actually tested that and was like, okay, I'm just gonna do this because I couldn't make a decision. And there are definitely lines with that's like very very wacky, that in a good way for sure. So
yeah, I mean, I don't necessarily think it's better than any of those decks below it, but there's definitely more people playing it, and you might see it at a set champ. So
okay, I'm gonna do this just because right now our consistency like that we have with 3 and all of these tiers is I don't want to be that just like straight edge, so we're gonna throw it down there just so that we're not all straight edge. Yeah,
you can't do that.
Okay,
it
fine.
can be inaccurate.
Oh my goodness.
If sometimes things happen this way.
All right, Amber Amethyst and Amber Steel all in Sad Beast then.
No, I would put Amber Amethyst in the bottom of Hero.
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Okay.
And I would put that one at Sad Beast.
Yeah. Amber Steel and Sad Beast. I agree with that one. I don't know. I think Amber Amethyst, I don't know. It probably is bottom of Hiram.
Yeah, I mean, it just has all the freaking Amethyst cards in it. It doesn't even matter. We could put mono Amethyst in Hiram if you want.
Yeah, so quick recap for the audio listeners. All of the Amethyst combinations are in the top 2 tiers.
No, legitimately, I think you could play a mono Amethyst deck and beat everything below it.
I don't disagree. I think the only challenge that you're going to have with that is a little bit worse removal. I think if you look at all of the other color combinations, the options that you get are removal. Steel, you have the songs. Ruby, you have the Horsemen and really big bodies early. Sapphire, you have Hades and Into the Unknown. Green, you have the Philip combo. And
well, no, I mean,
why are you being so contrarian? He just wants to flex his mono purple deck.
Exactly. I'm just saying, if I didn't have to play against Amethyst decks, I could beat everything else with just.
You could.
Yeah,
you
could, but you're stupid for it.
I
That's
know,
not
right?
what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm
That-
saying is that you're giving up something. What all
I'm
of those
reading
other
the room.
colors
I know
are
we're
giving up
joking.
is the removal options. And so anyways, you definitely like it's that like Amethyst is that strong right now. I just think obviously like if you're anyways, I'm being too literal and you're messing around, but
It's okay. Hot take: Cheshire Cat, best card in the game right now.
there's I would like to see a poll on that one done because I think that there's a lot of people that would back that.
Comment below what you think the best card in the game right
That
now.
is a
in the
great
meta
idea.
is.
Yeah.
But I think it's Cheshire Cat. Every game.
Write your opinion in the nearest oak tree.
Oh my gosh.
Like it's just crazy. Like because I probably like already today played almost 50 games, right? And probably 40 of them, like Cheshire Cat was on the board. Like what? Like think about like if you just counted up all the turns and all the games I played today, how many of them a Cheshire Cat was on the board? Probably 90%.
Probably
You know what
all
I mean?
of them. Probably all of them. Honestly, and it's hard to argue because I played a game. I think it was yesterday that I bounced a Cheshire Cat, and I think I'd boosted it like 8 times. I'm not exaggerating. Like 8 times. Like I went from 1 card in my hand to like a full grip of cards. Just with doing that. So on top of just all the value that it's getting you from turn after turn, from being you can't put a 2/2 on the board if something has 2 damage because then it just dies every single turn. Like that's incredibly powerful. So it's hard to argue with it. I think there's definitely a handful of cards that have that argument, but it's definitely one of the strongest for sure. Okay. Well, I think that finishes it up. So again, for the audio listeners, we'll go back through it. At the top tier, we have purple steel, green blue, again with the asterisk of you have to be okay high rolling with it, and red purple. In the Hiram / second tier, we have blurple, dogs, green purple, Moe's specifically control list, and amber amethyst. In third tier / sad beast, we have blue steel and amber steel. Scuttle, second to last tier, we've got ruby steel, green steel, and amber sapphire. And then in crab tier / worst tier, we have ruby sapphire, Christmas, aka emerald ruby, and ruby amber. So any final just like considerations or tips for people going to set champs on how to consider this, specifically for your meta and not necessarily a big tournament, but more just, like you guys said, I mean, take Ruby Sapphire if you want, if it's your local meta and there could be, some potential options there, like it definitely has the option to go and do well. So what are some, I guess, just, more specific either tips or thoughts about going into a set champs and what to, and some considerations or some thoughts to make sure that you're that are in your mind when you're making your final decision? Hayden, start with you. You're muted. Oh my God, he actually is muted this time.
Sorry.
He's been muted like 3 times.
I'm sorry for it earlier, and he actually was this time.
Okay, so I think Zach's right.
I'm gonna need therapy.
When we're making this tier list, a lot of what goes into it is thinking about like a 12-round tournament for Richmond, right?
Sure.
So, and like trying to have the least amount of bad matchups and being consistent and being able to play your deck and win games and have control over your own destiny. And that's why I think in a smaller tournament, in a set champs, you can play the bottom tier of this tier list and find a lot of success. I would try to, whatever your deck does, play to your strengths. If you're more of an aggro deck, try to play to that. Don't try to like balance it out and have more at the top end. Like lean into that rather than leaning away from it. Because I think a lot of players tend to do that. They tend to think, oh, I need, one of this piece and one of a couple of these. But no, I think you should go more to the other end of the spectrum and try to be on that side of it. Yeah, I think have a plan for Cheshire Cat and have a plan for evasives, because if you don't have a plan for the evasives, you're going to have a tough day. And Cheshire Cat will be at your tournament somewhere.
Yep. So, and my one tip would just be understand, your local tournament meta. That way, that just gives you the best option to to choose given that, because again, it's very much reading the room is a big skill in the game, which a lot of people overlook. You know, if you have your pet deck and you want to play it, that's great. But if you're trying to be a little bit more competitive or want to be a well-rounded player, try new things, reading the room is very important.
Yeah, I will say on the surface, just a surface level tip. Even if you want to play whatever your
You
pet
get to
deck
give 2
is,
tips.
I'm sorry. Just focus around evasives. I would focus around evasives
Yeah.
because a lot of these Amethyst decks, the way they're winning is evasives, and the way the green decks also typically win is evasives with Prince Philip. So try to have a way to be able to answer evasives in some way.
Good point. Okay, Cody, you can have your tip now. What's your tip?
I don't have one.
Oh my
I
gosh.
will throw out there though, if you win with Christmas, then I want you to at me at KaijuCrab95 on Twitter, and Zach will mail you an enchanted.
We
We are doing this live, folks. The brand new year.
We do have a Maribel set champs from our initial team donate
We'll send
list.
you a good enchanted.
I'm not. I mean, are you like? Are you providing?
No,
these
Zach. If you
enchantments?
didn't listen to the plea out to the community, you will be mailing the enchantments.
I have two. I have two Maribels left. We need to give these away.
There we go.
Zach
Win
told
with
me
Christmas
personally he's mailing out an enchanted Webby.
I have some advice.
Okay, thank you for getting us back on track. Go.
Don't play Christmas.
Wow.
Well, I thought he was getting us back on track, but
when you win with Christmas,
quite.
Shout out your haters. They got you there.
If you do play Christmas, play the 2-cost Diablo.
Mm-hmm,
that card will win you games by itself.
The Ruby one, yeah. I mean, Ruby Diablo is very good for sure. It's just crazy that all of the, aside from Ruby Amethyst, which is pulled up by Amethyst, the rest of the Ruby ones are all at the very bottom. So Ruby needs some love for sure.
What do you say about
Ruby? I think you meant Amethyst.
What do you say about all the green decks being in the second column?
Except for green
purple.
We got to move it down to Sad B, so it is.
We're starting to see patterns.
I think that the green stuff being like consistent across, and I mean obviously not second in all of the tiers, but just like representative across all the tiers, just says that it has a lot of cool tools, but it's not like the main thing you're trying to do. Like it definitely is like the support color, and so it's very much pulled in the direction of your other color that you're playing with, because like if you look at Sapphire, I mean I guess Sapphire is kind of all over the board as well, but you know, again, Amethyst is all at the top, so
I'm glad you mentioned that, Zach. Sapphire is in every single tier. We have a tier for every single Sapphire deck.
Yeah, yes we do. We could this should have just been the Sapphire tier list at that
Notably, though, Sapphire another support color, right? Mainly, like that's how we look at it.
Yeah, I mean that's what it's turned into. That's definitely what it's turned into, is ramp / support the rest of your deck plus Hades, which I would say supports your other strategies with removal. So
and you have Basil that literally supports.
Yeah, and then you actually have supportive.
Wow,
it's one of the two colors with support characters. So yeah, it definitely does.
You heard it here first. Play Ben in your blue decks. It has support.
Okay. Any real advice, Matt, or that's your final sign off here?
No, I was to say play comfortable pick maybe. Like I don't think you necessarily, like for set championships, I think any deck can win. I don't think you really need to read the room.
Okay. Negate my advice. That's fine. I don't care. If you want to fight or you don't like me, just tell me. That's fine.
I mean, I was so confident that like if you're comfortable with the deck, you can probably beat someone that is not as comfortable with their deck, even though they're playing the best deck.
No, I don't want to say that's like the golden rule, but that's definitely one of like the commandment rules, I would say, of TCGs. On if you're going to do better with the deck you're comfortable with than you will with a more powerful deck that you don't know how to play. So if you're going in to be competitive and to win, play what you're most comfortable with. If there's obviously a lot of things you can be going in for. If you want to learn a new deck or get reps on something else, or try to branch out from what you normally play, obviously just I guess then learn what your objectives for the tournaments are as well. So because that can obviously sway you in one direction or the other. But
maybe next week Zach will let me bring my red steel deck and show you guys.
We can do that. Yeah, I mean, after Richmond, post Richmond, a few weeks left before set 9. A little bit of a set champs conversation we can have. We can talk about Richmond stuff.
Did he just
Gonna
say
make-
9?
Did I say set 9? I might
Set
have. I said 11.
Okay,
yeah,
whatever.
That's
At
gonna
some
make the
point-
entire Red Still community happy. All 10 people will probably show up for you.
Well, I'm just thinking
we'll-
it's like someone who wants something new and fun to play at their
No,
set champ.
I think that's a great idea. Next week we can talk about Richmond. Actually, no, because we're gonna record one more before Richmond.
Why'd you just scroll down? What were you gonna look at? Was gonna give you?
I don't know.
the
I'm just
answer.
I was gonna look at the calendar, but no, we're recording the next one pre-Richmond.
Either way,
So,
I want
anyways,
a fun deck
we'll-
segment.
Yeah,
on
yeah,
every
I
podcast.
like that a lot. We need to start doing that more to have people to branch out, to not just be like the super uber sweaty meta decks all the time.
And that's
So-
totally what we always do.
And I pretty
No.
much will like have a fun deck I work on every week when I try to like quit playing the good deck and I want to play a fun deck.
You know what? Let's do that, because that is a good idea. I can talk about the Amber Sapphire detective stuff that I practiced a little bit. You can talk about that. We can just talk about some, dive a little bit deeper into the non-meta, like non-super meta decks.
Yay.
And then we'll have Richmond. So, just talk about the next couple weeks. We've got Richmond recap after we go play Richmond and have all the info from that. And then by that time, I imagine we get really deep into the Winter Spell releases so that we can start talking about, how that's
But we'll
set
have to
shaping
have
up.
the Hayden winner of a Golden Mickey podcast.
True.
True. Yeah. I mean, once we have a couple Golden Mickey winners, hopefully in Richmond, then we'll have to, have that as part of the recap discussion for sure. So, but yeah, that's all I got. If anybody else has any final comments, concerns, questions,
Don't let Christmas haters hate on you.
shots fired at the King Crab.
Yeah, be ready for Cheshire Cat at your local set championship.
Okay. I think that's a very, very strong wisdom to live by for sure. Okay. Appreciate it, everybody listening as always. Thanks for stopping in. Thanks for supporting. Thanks for being involved and staying in touch. Join the Discord if you want, more conversations around everything. Matified. I realized that like 30 minutes in and I just said, I already messed it up.
Matified, awesome mats. Go check out Matified.
Check all the links. We have TCG player affiliate links to help support the team. You can get Matified mats. He just launched an Etsy store and has some mats on sale on the Etsy store currently. So you can check that out as well. But yeah, thanks for supporting us. And then go check Mo's green purple. If you're gonna take green purple to a set champs or to Richmond, read his guide. It'll help you a lot.